Alright guys, I'm going to tell you the truth about scaling fast and hard because this is actually like a bit of a problem at the moment. A lot of students of mine find it hard to scale because they read a lot of misinformation online. We have a lot of people saying that it's easy to scale, you can do it with $5 a day, it's easy. And they try and scale and they don't succeed, and it's because they are not doing it correctly. Scaling to 6-7 figure months, which is what a lot of people would like to do, is not easy. You can't just go into Facebook and start throwing money around and duplicate and expect to make a bunch of money fast. My scaling methods are slow and steady. You'll notice in this module that mine is slow and steady, and then I've kind of got a semi-fast method. But if you want to scale to 6-7 figure months, you're going to have higher budgets. That's the reality. You're going to have to maybe sell higher priced items, and you're going to have to start to understand the math. That is really what it comes down to. And we will cover a lot of this in this video, but if you want to scale to huge months, you have to, the main thing is you have to have a bit of a bigger budget. You can't scale to 6-7 figure months off $5 ad sets. Like, let's be real. You can test for $5 ad sets. You can scale slowly with $5 ad sets. But you're not going to get to 6-7 figure months with $5 ad sets unless you've got hundreds of them going at once, and Facebook doesn't really allow that type of stuff. So, well, actually, you can have hundreds of $5 adverts going at once, but I think I've had like 130 once. But once you start to get to scaling point, it's going to be very, very hard for you to scale all of those up, and usually you wouldn't have hundreds anyway at the end because not all of them would be winners. So I'm going to kind of go over some examples here. These are two examples I've seen recently on some Facebook groups, and one of them was someone said they scaled from $5,000 a day to 8,000, and someone said they scaled from 12,000 to 130,000 a day. And then we also have people that scale from 0 to a million, 0 to 100,000, 0 to 20,000, whatever. But I'm using these two examples so we can calculate out some math for you, right? So these guys are not what the everyday advertiser is doing. The guys doing the 5,000 to 8,000, 12,000, 130,000. When they're not doing what most advertisers are doing. There's two types of advertisers. You've got the ones that are tight with their money and they're going to do $5 budgets to test, and then they're going to try to do $5 budgets to scale. $5 testing is fine, but when you get to scaling, you should really be prepared to spend a bit more money. Then you've got the ones that are just going to jump in, smash it, put in big budgets and outbid everybody, and that's what these guys are doing. That's what they're doing. They're jumping in with bigger budgets. So these guys are not doing what the everyday advertiser does, and that's really how it is. Now, I don't usually scale fast. Okay, I'm a slow scaler. The reason is because the more the scale, the more orders you get in. I don't like to sit there filling out orders all day. I like a steady, consistent flow of orders. I'm not greedy. I don't need tons of money. I have other businesses for that offline. I like to have a passive income. So I have a real estate company where I get a passive income. This Shopify stuff is passive. I'm not here to scale up to millions of dollars a month and sit here filling in thousands of orders a day or paying someone to fill in thousands of orders a day. That's not what I'm about. I make 6 figures from my stores at the moment per year. That's enough for me. I don't need more. But I do have friends that do exactly that. I have friends that scale to 6-7 figure months. Okay, and I've helped some of them do that. So I'm going to cover the facts and what you need to know about scaling fast and really the truth about it, so you don't get stuck. Like, you don't sit there scaling and trying to figure out why you're not getting to all this big money, because it's not what you think. You actually have to have bigger budgets, and you have to have a different mindset when you're trying to scale to those massive amounts fast. Now, I'm not talking scaling out fast over time, like what I do, I've got one scaling method where I scale out and I speed up my scaling a little bit. I'm talking about going from 5,000 a day to 8,000, 12,000 a day to 130,000, and these guys are doing it in a week. Right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about super, super, super fast scaling. This is what we're talking about right now. But there's some facts about it. It's not what it seems. So here's the deal. Let's take the 12,000 to 130,000 day one, right? I went from 12,000 to 130,000. This is someone that I know, and I've seen their screenshot. So at $12,000, they sold around about 344 sales at 35 on average, because they had upsells and stuff, right? They had upsells. So their main product price was actually a lot lower, but they had upsells and averaged out to be around about $35 per order on average. Okay? So that means they're filling in 344 orders a day, and they're spending, we'll talk about the spending soon, but they're filling in 344 sales a day. So first off, that's a lot of sales to fill in when you're scaling up fast as well. Then when we get to the 130,000, it was around about 77,000 sales a day at 35 on average. Okay, now that's a ton of orders to fill in. So I know who did this one, by the way, but he has a huge team. But do you really think that all of these guys who say to you that they're scaling from 0 to 100,000 in a day or 0 to 200,000 in a week, do you really think that it's true? Like, is it really true? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, because who really has the time to sit down and do thousands and thousands of orders? Now, some of it's true, right? I know people that are doing it, but only a very small, select handful of people are scaling up to these levels. And that is the truth. Because, first of all, a lot of people don't even want to scale up to this much. They don't want to fill in thousands and thousands of orders a day. But a lot of the guys that are showing the screenshots and stuff want you to think that it's easy. They want you to think that it's easy to do that stuff when it's not. And that's why there's only a handful of people in the world scaling up their stores to huge amounts of money. But basically brands and then a few gurus and experts are doing it, but not a lot. So what I'm trying to say here is scaling from these amounts to huge amounts in a day, although some people do it, it's not realistic a lot of the time, because basically a lot of people don't want to do it. They just tell you that they do it. Because that's a lot of orders per day, guys. And this stuff is not done off a $5 a day budget per ad set. Okay, we're not scaling this fast and hard with a $5 a day per ad set. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You need to be prepared to put in bigger budgets, and we're going to talk about how much budgets we do soon. Okay, so just take away from that, when you're going from 12,000 or 130,000 days, and this was in about a couple of weeks, I think, it's a complete different ball game. It is completely different to what all these other average market, what average market internet marketers are doing. Facebook marketers, that's what we are. It's a complete different ball game. This is the big boy stuff. But then again, not everyone who claims they're doing this is actually doing it. A lot of them say it to sell products or courses, or a lot of them to do it to give people the impression that they are actually doing it. But of course they're not. The internet marketing space now is very clouded, and there's only a handful of people that actually scale up this much. And you'll know who they are because they'll be authentic, they'll have lots of screenshots, they'll have videos and stuff of their stores, and you know that they're doing it. So let's say $12,000 sold, around 334 sales at $35. That's averaged out, that's with upsells and stuff. The average profit of a store advertising on Facebook is actually only around about 30%. It's actually between 25 and 30%. Mine are around about 40. One of mine's about 38. I talk about it in another video. But we're going to go with 40 here, right? Okay, 40% profit. So let's say, 40% of the 12,000 is 7,200. Let's say we split it. So let's say we spent 3,600 on the product cost, and we spent 3,600 on the ad cost, right? You're not left with much profit. So what I'm trying to say here is you are not left with a lot of profit. So what are we left with? We're left with around about for $5,000 profit. Now that's a lot of profit, but they are putting in a lot of money as well. $3,000 a day, roughly. This is an estimation. $3,000 a day. Do you have that much money to do that? So, do you have enough money to scale up that much? Now, of course, slow scaling is different. You slowly scale up, and your adverts eventually pay for everything, right? You slowly scale up. But we're not talking about slowly scaling. We're talking about people that are doing huge scaling in a week or 2 weeks. That's what we're talking about here. So it's completely different. And then let's say at 130,000 sold around 7,000 sales at $35 average. Profits about 45% because they say they've optimized a bit more, they've gone up a little bit more. They're putting in 71 grand into the advertising cost and product cost, right? 71 grand. So it's a whole different ball game, guys. It's a whole different ball game. It's for the big ballers. It's for the ones that are prepared to smash that money in there. Next, this is a general graph you'll see. I've just done a graph here. You'll see someone screenshot and they'll have they'll claim that, oh, we scaled up and we're making all this money and we scaled from here up. What they don't tell you is June, May, April, March, maybe they tested, maybe they spent 2 or 3 grand, 4, 5, 6, 10 grand on testing beforehand before they even scaled up. So what I'm saying here is all these scale methods are not perfect. Like not everyone, all these guys that are scaling up hard aren't just coming in, scaling up and making lots of money. They are usually coming in and testing beforehand. They're usually scaling with the winning product already, but they put in a lot of effort and time beforehand. Right? They spent 3 or 4 months beforehand testing products and actually finding one to scale up hard. They didn't just jump in and start scaling and automatically become millionaires. Okay? So they're in the same boat as you. They test, and they end up eventually putting more money in, way more money in than you have, or I have, like the average marketer, to scale that up. But beforehand, they probably did test a lot of products and spent a lot of money. So what they did is they spent money and then they earned it all back later on when they scaled up faster and harder. So once again, don't believe everything you see. Just remember that beforehand, there would have been a lot of testing and product selection beforehand. Now, so you can scale to 6 figures fast. So can you scale to 6 to 7 figures fast on a small budget? Not really. Not really. We'll talk about budgets in a second, but not really. You can scale up slowly over time, months, a month, 2 months. You can go up slowly. But you're not going to get to 6 figures, 7 figures in a week on a $5 budget. You're not. Really, that's just the truth. Scaling takes time unless you're willing to put in more money and play with the big boys. Okay, remember Facebook is an auction. If you're paying the lowest, if Facebook's optimizing you for the lowest, if you give Facebook $5 a day to work with, you're going against all these other people that are putting in more money. It's that simple. Even on automatic bid, when you're on automatic bid, Facebook is going to put you where they think you should fit in the bidding system. And if all these guys have $10, $20, $30 budgets per day, your advert's going to get put at the last of the list, and they're going to get put in front of you. So that's how it works. Now, manual bidding is how you really scale hard and fast. That's usually what 99.9% of the experts are doing. They're either testing with automatic bid, then they're coming back in with the manual bids and they're scaling up super fast from that point on. So for instance, they might have done auto bids in here and testing products. And when they found a winner, they might have just jumped back in and scaled up with a huge manual bid, which is usually the case with most of scales now. To jump in hard and fast on a manual bid scale and plan to scale fast, expect to drop 500 plus a day on your budget. And I'm not joking, expect to drop 500 plus a day, okay? Because you're playing with the big boys. You are in there, you need to give Facebook the data. And remember, I'm talking about scaling fast, so 6 to 7 figures in a week or a couple of weeks. That's what I'm talking about here. But be prepared to put in huge amounts of money, even more than that, 1,000 plus a day. I helped a buddy of mine recently on a hard and fast scale, and he was putting in $1,200 a day. That was starting budget. We ended up going to like 6, 7, 8. We just went up and up and up over time, but we started with $1,200 a day, and that's what you need to do these huge scales. Remember, you can start on $5 on your testing. When you want to scale hard, you need to put in the big dollars that all the big boys are putting in, especially if you're in a competitive niche. You need to jump in and just get those big bids and then slowly work your way down. That's really what we did. With the $1,200 a day starting bid, we actually were losing money at the start. We had a bit of a bad run. Then we kind of increased, decreased bids. We got to the perfect point, and then that 1,200 we started turning into about 6,000 income per day, and we scaled up, we scaled up, we scaled up. But once we got to that sweet point, that's when we started to scale up and scale up and scale up. And we didn't scale up. We didn't actually scale up quite fast either. We still scaled up slow with that, because manual bidding can still be, Facebook's an algorithm. It's not perfect. You can still have problems. But that's basically how it worked. We jumped in with the 1,200, and we were ready to scale hard and fast when we needed to, and that's really what we did. So if you want to jump in on the manual bidding, you're going to have to put in a lot of money unless your niche is not as hard. And remember, I'm talking about 6 or 7 figures here. I don't want you guys to go into my other manual bidding video and say, Frank, and you said this. I'm talking about scaling up super fast in a short amount of time. Now, you need to be realistic, okay? The more money Facebook has to use, the more data it will collect, and in most cases will optimize you quicker. And this is really the fact. If you're giving Facebook a tiny amount of money and you want to scale fast, it's not going to work very well, because there's all these other guys scaling and they've got heaps more money than you, and they're throwing in money and they're scaling in your niche, and they're getting the adverts in front of you in the line for the bids, right? That's how it works. So you need to be a bit more realistic, and you need to give Facebook a little bit more money. When we're jumping in at $1,200 a day, we're like, Facebook, we're here. Put us somewhere, and we're telling Facebook we've got the money. We've got the money to make moves. We've got the money to make moves on all these other guys. We've got the money to outbid them. That's what we're doing. And then Facebook's going to be like, okay, we're going to start optimizing you. You've given us the money. We're going to optimize you quicker and quicker. And then we're going to get the purchases. We're going to get the add to carts. It's going to start to optimize us for all that. And then we're going to start to scale faster and faster and faster and faster, because we've given Facebook the data. And you can't do that on $5 a day. You can't do it fast on $5 a day. Most of us will scale hard when we already know we have a winner. Okay, so I usually scale slow, like I've said, but I'll only really scale hard and fast, which I don't do much of anyway, when I know I have a winner and it's a definite winner. Then I'm going to start coming in and smashing those manual bids, and I'm going to start getting a little bit higher on my manual bids. Only when I know I definitely 100% have a winner. I've tested it for a couple of months. I've made consistent sales. I've maybe upscaled a little bit, or maybe even quite a lot. But if I want to come back in and start smashing those manual bids and huge upscales to 6, 7 figures, then I would definitely, where are we? Then I would definitely make sure I had a winner. 100% make sure I have a winner. So we've already done the initial testing. We already know that we have a product that's going to win, so then we start to upscale fast. And we use lookalike audiences a lot. I put that in capital letters because we do. No matter if I'm doing automatic bid or manual bid, when I want to scale up hard and fast, I usually utilize lookalike audiences a lot. I do them a lot because it is just easier for me to go in and get a lookalike audience from purchasers or add to carts, and just simply go out and start advertising to them instead of looking for new niches or new interests and stuff like that. So I utilize lookalike audiences a lot if I scale up fast. So do my friends. They do as well. That's pretty much our go-to strategy when we're doing hard and fast upscaling. So these huge upscales, I'm talking 6 or 7 figures in a short amount of time, are not for the average marketer. You need to learn how to do it via trial and error. You will have trials and you will have errors. Start small and scale small. So if you're starting with Facebook and you're fresh, just start small and scale small, okay? Get yourself to a few $100s a day income. Like you don't need to be greedy. Get yourself to a few hundred, 400, 5, 6, 700 a day, and just work your way up a little bit and just stay small. Learn how to read data and use it to your advantage. Once you learn how to read data and you learn how to use it to your advantage, then jump in and start doing manual bids and upscaling fast and upscaling hard. Because a lot of people, what they do is I've said it before so many times, if they jump in at $100 a day and on manual bids and they're like getting lots of sales, they're going to go 200, 300, 400, and they're going to just start to fail, because that's not how Facebook works. You can't just jump in and do big increments like that. You can't. It's not. You can do it maybe a couple of times, but once you start doing it a lot, Facebook's just going to shut you down, and they're going to be like, we're not serving you ads anymore. You're basically being greedy. So that's what people do. So learn to do it at a small scale first, then learn how to read the data and use it to your advantage, then work your way into bigger scales. Have patience, because Facebook can be hard. It's a technical machine. It can be hard. We don't need to have this here anymore. It can be hard, and you need to understand that. Just have patience. So how can someone scale to 6 or 7 figures, right? Gosh, it's so late here. It's 1 a.m. Change your mindset and be prepared to spend more and even lose money at the start. Okay, be prepared to spend more. Like I said in this slide here, we were dropping $1,200 a day. You know, be prepared to do $500 a day on manual bidding, $300, $200, but I would suggest $500 plus a day. You want to just jump in, even on automatic bidding. If you want to scale fast, you've got to be prepared to jump. If you want to scale to the 6, 7 figures fast, I need to keep saying 6, 7 figures so we don't get confused with my other upscaling strategies. But you need to hit it hard. You need to jump in with good money. Like that's it. Manual bids will give you more control. However, auto bid is still fine. So, you know, I know guys that are scaling up to 100K, 200K a month on auto bid, and it's working fine. There's no problems with that. But manual bid will give you more control, however, and you can scale up faster, you can scale down, whatever you want to do, but you have more control with manual bidding. And then I've got these here again for some reason from the other slide. But that's it, guys. Like, just remember that it's not all what it seems all the time. Just because someone has a screenshot of them going from $100 to $100,000 in a month or 3-4 weeks or whatever, doesn't mean that they started their store or their campaign at that point and just scaled up like God, like magic, like a wizard. They probably had times where they had to test. They probably had failed. They probably had 10 products that failed before that, right? So change your mindset. When you're doing Facebook adverts, it's not about making money quick, and as soon as possible. It's about slowly scaling your business, working out what's working, working out what's not. When something's not working, working out how to troubleshoot that problem, and then go back and start again. Reassess a situation, evaluate what's going wrong, evaluate what's going right. Okay, and take away from this video, just don't worry about what everyone else is earning. Okay, don't worry about their millions of dollars. Worry about what you can earn. Worry about your adverts. Worry about your scaling. Worry about your goals. Okay, so that's really the truth about huge scales. People don't just come in with $5 and scale up to a massive amount in a short amount of time. They come in with bigger budgets, and they don't tell you that. And you think that they're just like you, advertising $5, $10 a day, when in reality they're not. They are not the average. They are not the average advertiser. They're not. Some of them are even paying professionals hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to do the adverts for them. And those are the real professionals. Okay, so yeah, that's it for this. Just wanted to cover that so you don't get stuck in any traps.